no shame, no conscience. The 8 most famous women in history who were not shy of promiscuity and other sins. Greetings! Today, we're going to talk about great women of the past who, in addition to good deeds, could afford something more. It is true that one of the Roman emperor's wives was a prostitute and even competed on the number of clients served. Which queen seduced her own son? Is it true that a Russian woman had about 300 lovers? Be sure to watch the video to the very end. You will learn the names of not only foreign, but also Russian women of the past, Cleopatra. Perhaps let's start with the ancient Egyptian queen, which is known to you not by hearsay. This is Cleopatra, who came from the Macedonian dynasty of the Ptolemies. Thanks to her unrivaled creative abilities, perseverance, and ability to find a common language with men, the woman took the place of the pharaoh at the age of 18. First, for several dozen years, Cleopatra more than once entered into intimate relations with her lovers. Only here men for a night spent with the ruler paid with their own lives. For ordinary mortals were not valued as highly as representatives of royal blood. Secondly, Cleopatra showed particular cruelty to slaves and prisoners. Queen and did not consider them people. That is why the most sophisticated experiments were applied to the latter. For example, Cleopatra was interested in the development of the fetus in the womb and therefore once ordered her servants to cut the belly of a pregnant slave. As for the prisoners, the woman tested various poisons on them and watched how the substances acted on the human body. Apparently, the queen of ancient Egypt paid for such cruelty herself. After the defeat in the war with Rome, Cleopatra realized the hopelessness and therefore committed suicide. The first version says that the woman died from a snake bite. The second, a lethal dose of taken poisons. Valeria Messalina. Do you want, so to speak, to know more about the third wife of Emperor Claudius, who, as you can guess, ruled ancient Rome? Well, we present to your attention Valeria Messalina. This woman, who was married to the great ruler, remembered intimate relations on the side. The fate of the lady led to the fact that she became a night butterfly. So, Valeria entered into a marriage alliance with Claudius at the insistence of Caligula. After all, he pursued a single goal: to unite the two great dynasties. Yes, and Claudius actually did not object, as saw in it political benefit. Only here, Valeria Messalina herself treated the conjugal duty indifferently. The woman repeatedly served clients with the onset of night, the number of which each time became more and more. And soon, the lustful desires of Valeria Messalina moved to a new stage. Lady decided to organize a competition with a prostitute Scylla. Who will be able to serve the greatest number of men? Valeria was victorious. As you might expect, the woman risked a lot. And when Valeria Messalina decided to marry one of her lovers, she paid with her own life. Claudius, who tolerated it all for a long time, personally ordered to kill the unfaithful spouse, Giovanna I of Naples. As you have already guessed by the name, Giovanna ruled Naples in the 40th century. The queen ascended the throne at the age of 17. Her reign is considered one of the most scandalous in world history. And here's why. Giovanna I of Naples turned the royal palace and court into a veritable brothel. The lady disregarded the norms of morality and ethics of the period. On a regular basis, Giovanna secluded herself with several men. Soon, the queen practiced another thing: mass poisonings of the unwanted. The woman repeatedly became a muse for art historians and also honored erotic works. This, in turn, proves the debauchery of the queen. Even contemporaries do not cease to be surprised by the wayward character of Giovanna, Elizabeth Breed, Thurns of England. Becoming Queen of England and Ireland at the age of 25, Elizabeth I received the nickname Virgin Queen. Although, in fact, the woman did not maintain her chastity. She had quite a few lovers before officially coming to power, and for good reason. In her youth, Elizabeth was not only a beautiful girl. She can also be rightfully characterized by the words freedom-loving and liberated. It so happened that Elizabeth of England before the age of 25 acquired at least 24 lovers. You will be extremely surprised by the generosity of the ruler. After all, in addition to satisfying physiological needs, men received from Elizabeth gifts. The lady bestowed lovers with all kinds of ranks and titles. Jeanne du Barry, the official favourite of Louis XV, who until 15 years actively preached religion and lived in a convent. But then, the girl began to lead a promiscuous lifestyle and often found lovers on the side. Most likely it was influenced by one circumstance. As you know, Jeanne, before coming to the convent, lived with a courtesan. After a few years, the girl wanted to try intimacy with men. As a result, she herself became a courtesan, taking the pseudonym Manon Lanson. Her patrons were often rich people. Among the latter were also noble marquises and dukes. Here, thanks to them, occurred acquaintance du Barry with the French King Louis XV. Despite her promiscuity, Jeanne du Barry was characterized by excellent physiological features. For example, healthy skin and a snow-white smile. After the death of Louis, who contracted smallpox, Jeanne du Barry became a socially insecure woman. She was eventually accused of monarchism and executed in the midst of the Great French Revolution. Marie Antoinette. Not just a queen and wife of the last king of France, but a promiscuous woman. This is how one can characterize Marie Antoinette, who, together with Louis XVI, was executed in the Place de la Concorde. The vestiges of the monarchy were a thing of the past. Marie Antoinette was a very amorous woman. Moreover, her husband shared such passion because of illness could not properly satisfy the lady. Mary practiced incest and therefore even seduced her own son. Lovers of the queen was a lot. Alas, but not without adventurism of Russian women. To convince you of this, we will give the most obvious evidence. The daughter of Prince Alexei Golitsyn was remembered for debauchery among many men. This is Princess Maria Saltykova, who had 7 children. Family traditions and affection for her spouse bypassed the lady. Just imagine, according to some data, Maria had about 300 lovers. And this situation bypassed the spouse, who was indifferent to what was happening. By the way, the man had a serious status, adjutant general. No wonder that Princess Maria Saltykova, after the end of the day, often spent time in the soldiers' barracks. The lifeguards loved this woman very much and were always happy to see her. Finally, let's talk a little about the great Empress of Russia, Catherine II. Despite all the merits to the fatherland, the woman entered into intimacy with her favorites. A vivid proof of this is the secret room of the naughty Empress. It just had a specific interior with items for adults. And in her old age, Catherine was addicted to gluttony and also, according to legend, indulged in pleasure with a horse. Conclusion. Thus, in Russia and abroad, ruled women who led a wayward way of life. They indulged in a variety of comforts, especially intimate. In those years, such practices were not particularly encouraged, but also not prohibited.